It's episode 10. We're already to 10 of these things. Can you believe it? That's a good way to start. It's a good way to start a stream right there. All right, guys. Track 2. The title track of the album, Boundless. We are now to volume detail, which is the third big section. So getting close to done with this one already. As I mentioned when we were doing Poison in the Well, the songs are going to start to go a little bit faster now that we've done a lot of the kind of establishing work on making the album sound the way it's going to sound. They're still going to take a while, but this one has not taken near as long. It took us 7 episodes to get through Poison in the Well, and there's a chance we get through this one today. I'm not going to guarantee that, but there's a chance. Let's do the big dumb face swap. There we go. So there is definitely a chance that we are going to get through the song today and, or at least close. We're going to get through this one or really close to through this one so that we can get started on 3. Now, again, this is first draft. I want to make sure that that is pointed out here. We still need to go back and make sure that there's nothing that jumps out when we listen to the whole thing front to back. Excuse me, we also did not master Poison in the Well. We mixed it, did not master it. Cody's here early, yes. Yes, indeed. Hello, hello, hello. Another early stream again today. So you're early for the early stream. All right, well, let's just jump right back in here, starting with volume automation, basically. So now that we need to do volume detail, we need to go back through a lot of this stuff and pay special attention to all of the little details to make sure that things are jumping out where they should and staying back when they need to. So basically thing by thing, right? Bass drum and snare drum, I think as like with most songs here, pretty easy. I don't think we need to volume automate those. I think they can stay at a consistent volume for the whole song. There's nothing in here that's making me think that the bass drum and snare drum need to jump up and down. So the first thing that we really need to take a look at is the fills. So let's open up our volume automation screen. I'm going to go ahead and activate track envelopes on most of these tom tracks. Looks like there's only one instance of floor tom 1 right here. We may delete these if we end up not needing them, but usually we do. We do have a volume envelope on our snare fills already, but maybe that's already fine as is. So you guys probably remember from Poison in the Well, but if not, we're just going to go through the song fill by fill, listening to what's going on, making sure we can hear stuff. And if we can't, turn it up. If it's too loud, we turn it down. If it's fine, we leave it alone. So let's take a look at our first one. Oh, this is during the radio effect thing. So this is probably fine. Ooh, I've got that really loud in my speakers. Let me turn that down so I don't kill my ears. Yep, good with all that. I want to do something real quick while I was thinking about it. I was thinking about this last night after we had streamed. I think I do actually want my intro rhythm to be a little bit radio-y too. I don't necessarily want to send it to that radio effect, but I think we should low pass it. And we can do this to the whole track because there's nothing else on that track other than that little bit right there. Maybe like an 18 decibel low pass at say like 3,000 just to kind of knock off the high end. No, you know what? I changed my mind. Changed my mind already. I don't want to knock off high end. I want to knock off low end. Let's high pass this thing up to like 400. Oh yeah, that's cool. I like it. Manjin, hey, yes, missed a couple. We're on track 2, fairly obviously. Boundless, the title track here. We are doing volume automation. We're on the 17th song. Yes. If we were talking about Paramnesia, that wouldn't be out of the question. I think there were 17 tracks on that album. Yes. So we're doing volume automation for Boundless now, the title track. I took a little distraction there to mess with the guitar in the intro there, but we're looking at drum fills. So looking at all the places where there are any toms or anything on the snare fills track and just making sure that it's the correct loudness. Okay, that tom is a little quiet, but I think I'm okay with it. Good with that. Got a couple of little snare things right there before the chorus. Oh, yeah, that's right, because he does the little like snare and then ride cymbal thing. Yeah, I'm good with that. We usually do a double ride setup. I think we had the double ride setup for this. If Eli's in here, he can correct me on that if I'm wrong, but I know we did double ride for Paramnesia. I'm pretty sure we did double ride for this too. I think that's what that is. Snares, 16ths on the snare, and then 16ths on the two ride cymbals. Like that. Good with all those. Okay. Those were on the line. Let me hear those again. Okay, you know what it is? I think Rack Tom 2 is okay, but I had a little bit of problem hearing the Rack Tom 1 in that fill. But it doesn't need to come up much. I think it's pretty okay as is. Let's try like 1.5 decibels there. Diddle, 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 diddle. That's right, Majennica. If anyone is familiar with my particular brand of drum speech, it would be you. Okay, so that groove snare that happened right there, is that the first groove snare that happens in the whole song? Yeah, that actually seemed a bit loud. Let's try turning that down just a hair. So that felt more appropriate, where he kind of double snares. Da, 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 da. Okay, and then we've got a little tom hit over here, looks like. Okay, yep, I'm good with that snare fill as is. Oh, there's another tom hit right there. Okay, now I heard these toms pretty well, but because we're kind of like reintroducing the chorus, I do feel like they could be a little bit higher. 1.5 decibels worked pretty well for us last time. Let's try that again. Gave him a little bit more heft and importance, but not enough to like, it's not suddenly the only thing you're hearing is that big tom fill. I like it. Good with all that. I want to review the groove snare right here, I think, though. Other than that, everything was great. Yeah, no, that's good. And jump out to the end here. Okay, yeah, so the groove snare was kind of introducing a couple of issues there. I was good with the volume of everything, but there sure is a lot of cymbal bleed on that groove snare. It's a lot harder to multi-band gate what equate to basically ghost notes, because it's super easy to just accidentally gate the sound of the actual snare out, which is part of the reason I separate it. We do have a gate on there. Not a multi-band gate, but just a regular noise gate. And in this particular song, it doesn't seem to be really doing what we want. It is the snare ghost notes preset there, but I'm hearing cymbals jump through a lot whenever those hit. Like right there, you hear suddenly a psst. Oh, whoops. I didn't want a track envelope there. So we may need to do some EQ automation to turn down some of the like super high end on that ghost note. Kinda that one. I didn't even hear that one. There we go. I'm not convinced we're hearing that one. The one there in 151. Are we gating it out? Why are we not hearing that? Yeah. You didn't hear anything I just said, did you? I always accidentally mute that mic. Anyway, yeah, the virtual mix rack is knocking this snare out. It was gating it totally gone. So that volume automation that I just stuck in there is going to turn our drum gate off just for that hit. Let me make sure that my mic is soloed this time. Okay, yeah, so sucks a little bit because we kind of need the gate for that hit. You can hear that high-end cymbal. So it's like these three groove snares. We're hearing a lot of cymbal in there. So let's see if we can get like a high shelf going on our EQ. High shelf gain, which right now is at 0, and we only want to affect these three snares. The rest of them seem to be okay, and let's go pretty hefty with this. Let's do an 11 decibel cut, but we do need to know like what frequency. As you can see, we're here. This might just like kill them. Let's kind of see here. That did help. Yeah, now they sound a little bit weird in solo mode, but again, in the full context of everything, I don't think they're going to sound weird. I don't think we need to mess with that frequency either. I think it was okay. So let's turn everything else back on. Still heard the snare, didn't hear the cymbal as much. Problem solved. Oh yeah, and that was all the fills too. Okay, good. So there's that done. Okay, now would be a good time to make a decision on the hi-hat. So we want to find particularly the break. Maybe there's some other spots in there that he's hitting the hi-hat that we need to be kind of wary of. But I know on the break, in the last episode, we determined that the hi-hat seemed really harsh. Yeah. Now, it's not near as bad as I remember it being, if I'm being honest, but it does still seem pretty harsh right there. Now, we also determined, if I'm remembering right, that muting the hi-hat mic didn't really change it that much. Our hi-hats are just that loud. So let's just take a listen to that same section again, but this time, no hi-hat mic. Yeah, there's like almost no difference there, which is pretty wild. Now, if we mute the overhead left, though... Listen how loud it is in the right speaker still. Oh, man. Those hi-hats. We might need to retire those hi-hats. That's so loud. Okay, there's a couple of things we can try here. Now, the end game that we could do if nothing else works is we can just get into the volume automation and turn the overheads down during that section, and then if he hits a crash, they got to pop back up for a second. But I'd really appreciate not having to do that. Now, because we know that this isn't really in the hi-hat left mic, this is something that we should try to maybe hit in the overheads or even on the overhead master. Let's see if we can stick Soothe on there. And if by chance we can help this problem with Soothe, then we don't have to worry about volume automation. It'll also take care of any other areas where the hi-hat is being kind of crazy. So let's look in our drums here. We do have a harsh hi-hat. Let's see what options we have. Cymbal smooth, annoying shaker go away, harsh hi-hat, hat designer, hi-hat remover, matte cymbals, rubbish tambourine, tame hi-hat. Okay, so we've got quite a few options here. Excuse me. Let's try this hi-hat remover and just kind of see what it does. It's definitely targeting some highs there. And this is on the overhead master, so this will affect all the cymbals. Well, I'll tell you what, that did work, but it's also getting rid of the cymbals, like, just entirely. So this might be something that we want to only activate when he's hitting the hi-hats. Yeah, now that does a good job. Let's just see what the other ones are, because we know that that one's good. So what else did we have? Harsh hi-hat. Okay, yeah, that one's not quite doing enough. Hat designer. That, oh, I see. That one's in Delta mode for some reason. Yeah. Oh, that's so bad. Oh, that one's got to be for a specific purpose, which is not what I'm doing here. Let's just see what matte symbols is. Interesting. Rubbish tambourine. All right, I'm curious. That's wild. Okay, yeah, it didn't really do what we needed it to do, but that's pretty funny. How about tame hi-hat? Better. I think what we're gonna do is get rid of. We're gonna do that hi-hat remover, and then we're gonna make it so that it only turns on when we actually need it. This is a better option than actually changing the volume, I think. Yeah, so we can set this thing to go into bypass mode. I was hoping we could just turn it off. But it does not appear to have that. Okay, yeah, so we can't turn it on and off, but we can set it to bypass, which most of the time we want. But during this break, we want it on. Okay, so it looks like he starts hitting the hi-hat on beat 3 of this measure. Okay, so we can actually turn it off right at measure 41. There was a cymbal hit in here, too. Just right there. Just literally for one beat. Oh. Yeah, I got this backwards. We want the bypass on. I had a feeling there that that's what I was doing. Okay. Okay, yeah, let's move these nodes just a little bit further out here, just so that the hi-hat doesn't suddenly come online. Kind of curious if he was hitting the hi-hat at any other point. Life's mysteries unravel, understanding absolute truth. he's hitting it during the solo, but it doesn't seem quite as right up in the front there. Let's just see what happens if we do turn that soothe on just for that section. It really does. I mean, that does a really good job of making the hi-hat just like kind of disappear. It was a little too much, if you ask me. Yeah, I don't know. Let's try this, just because we have the power, basically. If we do the mix, so we turn it on, but don't let it be at 100% power throughout that. What if we were just at like 50-50? Or 50.2? Yeah, I think that was better. Again, there was a cymbal hit. Right there at 105. This probably isn't actually doing that much, but if we just go ahead and turn that bypass on right there, we should get the impact of that cymbal. Okay, yet another tool in the bag for if in other songs the hi-hat seems like it's a bit much. We've got that. Okay, I think we're good with everything else. Let's just check the backward cymbal. I'm pretty sure I'm good with it, but this would be a good opportunity for us to check the backward cymbal and the fade in backwards Bs that kind of introduced the full quality version of the song. I'm good with that. All right, so our next step is taking things down into solo. So I've soloed my stream mic. We are going to solo. You know what? Actually, now I did this way before, but I think it would actually be simpler to mute stuff. We're going to mute the rhythm guitars, the pianos, the orchestra, the solos, the lead vocals, and the background vocals, so that we are left with only drums and bass. And this is so that we can take a look at what the bass is doing, and if we need to do any sort of volume automation on sections with the bass, turning it up and down. This now the reason we do this in solo, because obviously you want to keep the context of your full mix. You can't make a good decision about anything if it's in solo. If it sounds good by itself, doesn't mean anything in regards to it sounding good in the context of the mix. So the reason we're doing this with the drums and the bass instead of everything is so that if there is anything in the bass that is so buried that we don't even realize there's a cool little thing that might need turned up, we actually hear it. So yes, we do need to hear this stuff in the context before. If we decide to change any volume automation, we need to hear the whole context to make absolute sure we're good with it. But we want to hear it in solo so that we can be sure we're not missing any cool little bits. So here, sorry about that. Here we go with drums and bass. Yes, I forgot to mute that synth. That scared me a little bit. Yep, I sure did. Okay. Yes. Oh, and Eli says, would the end of that swell sound better without the tom hits in there? That's a good question. Let's mute those and see how it sounds. Actually, rather than muting, let's just delete that, knowing that I can undo. It definitely is difficult to say, you know what I mean? Because it's what would be even harder would be to change what was played. We can mute them, but it is still like kind of there. You know what I mean? I see what you're getting at, though. It's having that do sound is kind of weird in the middle of that swell. Sounds cleaner. Yeah, I'm with you on it. Yep, let's do that. Okay, so we were at the end of chorus 1 there. Right, I had muted the synth. Okay, yeah. Cymbal thing there. Nice. Yeah, I think we're all good there. And that's pretty normal. I think I mentioned this when we did Poison in the Well, but I haven't had to put automation on the bass track very often in the last while, especially now that we've been doing better about getting things to slot together better. Again, that used to be, there was volume automation all over like basically every single track and every song I did before, because that was how I got things to quote-unquote slot together, was just by having volumes jump up and down everywhere. Not really realizing that that's not really how you're supposed to do it. That's not the best way to get the sound, you know? So everything else in there I think was good, though. Now we've got the bass sitting in a spot where we can kind of hear it pretty well the whole time, so we don't really need for it to jump up at any point. There's nothing where it's getting specifically covered, at least with that. Now we will hear it another way that'll give us better context. So now we're going to unmute the rhythm guitars, and we're going to mute the bass so that we're hearing just drums and rhythm guitars, and this is kind of for the same thing. We're listening for spots where things can go up and down. We're particularly listening for any places where James and I are not playing the same thing so that we can make sure that any harmonies that are played are still in balance. And I know there are definitely a few harmonies in here. So let's go ahead and take a listen. So a couple of little harmonies there, but I mean, to me, they sounded pretty well in balance already. Now there, I think my harmony might be a little bit loud on the digga-digga-da-da. Yeah, in fact, I almost only hear my harmony there. It was real quick, just a couple of beats in that measure. So let's try James up 2 and me down 2. That's usually kind of my starting point with this stuff. But in the last song, it ended up not being, or that ended up being too much. So we'll see. Right from 8-9 to 9-1. There we go. Okay, so yeah, definitely too much. 'Cause there I only heard the melody and didn't hear my harmony at all. So let's reduce to 1 decibel difference. Maybe that needs to be our norm for this album. The 1 decibel difference seems to, I think that's all we used on Poison in the Well. Seems to be better. Yeah, better with that. So again, those harmonies seem fairly well in balance. I'd be curious what they sound like with the decibel difference. Let's just try it. That way I know for sure. It's literally just 4 and. It's 1 beat in these 2 measures. So we turn James up a decibel. And me down a decibel. I'm not gonna lie, I do like it a little better. The second one was unaffected that time. It was just the first little bit we heard that was actually affected. There we go. Let's hear both of them affected. I do think they're a little bit better in balance. Okay, we probably ought to check the other time it does that. I don't know, I'm kind of holding that those sound okay. I mean, for sure the first one. The first one is in balance as is. The second one I want to try. It's like as we get higher, my guitar is a little bit more powerful in the high range than James's or something. Yeah, let's roll with that. Okay. I think we are pretty well in balance as is right there, but I did notice that crazy little run right there, right before the chorus hits. I've been having trouble hearing that with everything in. Now, it seems okay here. It doesn't seem like out of place here, but I do know that I was having issues hearing that a little bit. It's just these last two beats right here. Let's push both of us up a decibel. Already that seemed a little bit more balanced even just within our soloed stuff here. Yeah. And later when we turn everything back on, that'll be really easy to either increase or delete if we decide we don't need it. Okay, so right there we were in octaves, but I think that was okay. Okay, so for this verse, we're going to want to do kind of the same thing we did in the last. What did we do in the last verse? We left that thing alone. We turned the second of the high harmonies up. We changed the da-da-da-da-da, and then both of the really high harmonies. And that one seems a little out of balance there. Did I just miss that in the first verse? Yeah, I'd actually kind of like to hear that with the decibel change. And then we probably ought to check the first verse. I might have just missed that one. Or maybe in the first verse it was in balance. Totally possible. Yeah. Let's go ahead and check that in the first verse while I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I mean, I think I see, if I skipped it on purpose, I think I see why. It's really close. I do think I like it better though with the decibel split. Okay. Yeah, same thing there. It's really close to being okay. That second, the second one. I think we will go ahead and do the split there. There we go. And there was that one again where we did the split. Yeah, let's somebody remind me of that if I forget in future songs, that it seems like moving James up a decibel and me down a decibel tends to work. At least in both this and Poison in the Well, that seemed to be the move that's working pretty consistently. Right, and we did both of those. We did the split on both of those little harmonies. Oops. There we go. Okay, and then same thing here. Him up, me down, and then we come to the solo, which, again, normally I would be turning this down 1.5 decibels to make room for the solo, but apparently we don't need to do that anymore. Still a wild revelation for me. Yep, good with all that, I think. Not too much going on in there, that's good. Got through it really nice and quick. Okay, now we're going to turn our bass back on. So hearing basically the bass layer of the song, and again, bass as in B-A-S-E, bass layer of the song being the drums, the bass, and the rhythm guitars, and everything else on top of that is just kind of like the fancy details, right? So we want to make sure that our bass layer is nice and smooth. We're hearing everything that we intended to hear. Some of those moves we made there in those rhythm guitars still sound right with the bass guitar in there, and then we're going to be adding bit by bit the extra stuff, the pianos, the orchestra, all of that. Yes. Feeling pretty good about that. I did do some adjusting on the bass during both when we had the bass and the drums going, and also just now. I took just a hair, just a decibel out of the bass, did a low shelf at 220, and took some actual low frequencies out of the bass. That way we could push it higher without it adding too much mud. Pushed it a little too high. Now when we had the guitars in there, suddenly the bass was just like all you could hear. So pulled the bass back down a decibel. It's still up half a decibel more than it was. So we should be able to pick that out a little bit cleaner. There was something. Oh, yes, right at the end. Seems like one of the guitars on the left jumps the gun just a hair on the two little ending pieces, the ends. Either me or James, one of us that's in the left there, it comes a little bit early. And I mean, it's milliseconds. Let's mute me. Okay. Might be James. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Mute James and hear only me. Okay. Yeah, I think it might have been James's left, but I think I might have diagnosed it wrong. I'm not sure that it was early. Because if we look at the beats here, all of us come in just a hair before the beat. You can see the bass is right on. In fact, some of mine are visibly before his. So there's something else going on there. Maybe what it is that it holds out a little longer. So you can see that the one on the left holds a little bit, the frequencies go on a little bit longer than his right one. Sorry, this is breaking my brain a little bit. I can't seem to talk. Let's try that right there. Pulling the guitar in just a little bit. Yeah, I think that might have fixed it. Yeah. Okay, so that's what it was. I thought it came a little early, but no, it just held a little long, was the thing. Tiny fixes no one but me will notice. If I hadn't been streaming this, would anybody in the band that had heard these demos a billion times, would we have noticed that part was slightly different? Probably not. I could have left it and it would have been fine. Let's be honest. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. Okay. So now we know that our bass layer is doing really good. So we want to start adding in kind of the fancy extra bits as well. So our pianos, our orchestras, and the synth is what we're going to add. We're going to leave the lead, like the solos and stuff, and the actual vocals for a second. But I do want to hear some of what's going on here with the piano and the orchestra. Now, if you guys remember, we did have kind of an argument, not me and you guys. I mean, there was an argument between the piano and the orchestra in Poison in the Well that we had to kind of slot some stuff out with the EQ. This is stuff that I disabled for Boundless because I felt like that was probably specific to Poison in the Well. This is where we're really going to find out. Can these two things coexist fairly well? The big difference thematically between Poison in the Well and this was the piano part that we were trying to get to come through was really, really important. It was the riff, if you will, for that part of the song. In this song, both the piano and the strings are support instruments for this chorus. Neither one of them has something that really needs to stick out really well, so we may not need to do any crazy EQ slotting. They might just sit okay as is. Now, and in Poison in the Well, we opened everything else up right here, and we are still going to pretty much do that. But the main thing, the main part where piano and orchestra are playing together is that chorus. So I do kind of want to see with just our bass layer and the piano and orchestra, if we hear that stuff, does it seem like they're sitting okay, or do we need to start talking about those same EQ slots that we had from Poison in the Well? I can hear both of them fairly well. The orchestra is definitely lower than the piano, which is okay. Again, I think the orchestra is very much just the Wendy's effect here, more than it is anything else. But let's just see, just because I'm curious, if we re-engage those EQs that we had for Poison in the Well on both of these tracks, what does it change? So on the orchestra, we cut at 600 and boosted at 1,000. And on the piano, we did the opposite. We boosted at 600 and cut at 1,000. I forget if the Q was set to 1 or 1.5, though. Let's take a look at that. Oops, not that one. They were set to 1.5. Okay. A little bit more focus there. Just because I'm curious if this does anything to help or hurt how well we're hearing either thing. Tell you what, I do kind of feel like that helped. It did just occur to me, though, if we put that EQ on the piano's master, it's going to apply to the organs, too. Does that make the organs sound weird? Maybe that is something we need to leave on for all of the songs, because I do think that helped. Suddenly I can hear the piano a little bit better, and the strings still seem to be also in there. Nothing sounds super weird. Yeah, I think we're good with that. Okay, now we know. All right, so let's turn everything on now. We're going to bring back in the vocals and the leads and everything, and we're going to go through this bit by bit with parts. So the first thing that we're listening for is the piano and stuff going on in that chorus. So we're going through the 2 piano tracks. We got a low piano and a high piano. Again, just in case anybody's watching now that wasn't before, Sam did record this all at once, but we record piano using MIDI. So I was able to separate what his left hand did and what his right hand did so that we can affect them differently. But he did record this as one part. Hear the break again. Okay, so turning that EQ on and off doesn't seem to change the sound. I feel like the piano is kind of weird sounding in this break, and I didn't think it was before, so I was making sure it wasn't that EQ move that was making it sound weird. I did turn the reverb down just a little bit, and that seemed to help, but other than that, unchanged. All good with that. I think we have the same thing happening in chorus 2 and the ending. Check that out. Yep, good with all that. So keeping in mind again here that we're looking at focuses, right? What is the focus of each part? And in that chorus, the focus is the vocals. It just simply is the vocals. So could we hear that piano like super flawlessly? Could you tell every single thing he played? No. If you were a piano player trying to figure out what he played, would you be able to clearly hear every note? Nope. But the focus of that chorus is the vocals. The pianos don't need to be jumping out of the speakers at you, and if we turned them up until they were, it would cover the vocals. So we want to keep that in mind when we're mixing too. Just because we're focusing on something doesn't mean that it needs to be super loud. Okay, looking at the organs now. We have 3 organ channels here on the piano's kind of master group here, and the first of them is right here at the beginning. We got 2 pianos here that are doing the little riff that leads us into the verse. And then actually the verse itself has organ as well. so they could probably stand to come up, right? Not hearing much of any of that. Now we don't have any automation on these at the moment, so we can kind of freely turn them up without it doing anything. Let's try a couple of decibels there.
A line of faces moves past. Looking down, they know my name. One by one, they pass me by. Sounding all the same. And though it may be painful, know that I'm okay. It seems so far from now, but there will be better days.
Okay, yes. Okay, so again, the verse organ doesn't need to be super loud. Just needs to kind of blend in with the guitars and beef them up a little bit. I think we got there with that. I do want to hear these two here again real fast.
A line of
That low one is definitely going to blend in with the bass. Yeah, we're good with that. Okay, now this thing, the break. The organ is much more of a focus in the break, so we can definitely hear it better. We don't want it to overtake the riff, but it is definitely a feature of this section. Yeah, I think I'm good with it there. Knowing the strings kind of come in on the second half and kind of give it even more. The guitar starts to get a little bit lost in that second half, but again, I don't think that it's necessarily bad. We might want to bring the strings down just a hair when we get there, but everything else is seeming pretty good. Still not hearing the in the guitars maybe quite as well as I want to. Yeah, it's really close though. Let's try an extra decibel up on the guitar thing right there. And this might even be too much. Yeah, I think that is a little bit more appropriate. It definitely still doesn't leap out of the speakers at you with an axe, but it does. You do hear it. You know, it is tapping at you with the axe, maybe. We still may want to bring the strings down just a hair when we get to that point. Jumping forward, we have the second verse, which has that same organ in it. Should be the same, but let's check it out.
Like mysteries unravel, understanding absolute truth. The answers have unfolded, nothing to confuse. No material bonds to hold me, no conscious thoughts remain. This defies all description, spirit is sustained.
Yep, good with that. Might be it. Yes, that's it for the organ. Okay. So moving into strings now. Again, we got to be really careful. Strings is always the kind of the big tripping point here. We want to make sure that they are there. They are mostly there for ambience. Parts that I definitely want to jump out here are these that we're looking at right here. This is during the verse when the guitars are going. The strings just go bop, bop, and I really like that. I think those we can stand to bring out a little bit. So we should make sure that those are where we want. This right here is the break. This is the part I was just talking about we want to turn down a little bit. I think we're already good in the chorus. I think the break is pretty good already too. We're definitely going to listen. This is a part I also wouldn't mind being, kind of out there a bit, but it might already be where it should be. Just starting there with those spots in the verse.
Pass me by, sounding all the same. And oh, it may
Okay, so I heard the second one okay, but the first one I didn't hear at all. I think both of them could stand to come up just a little bit. More the high strings than the low.
sounding all the same.
Yeah. Interesting. I would have guessed that they go up. They don't. Let's start by turning them up a decibel and a half and just see where that gets us.
Pass me by, sounding all the same. And oh, it may be painful.
Let's go up just a little bit more.
Me by, sounding all the same. And oh, it may be
Okay, I'm hearing the second one where I want. I'm still not hearing the first one very well.
one by one they pass me by, sounding all the same. And oh, it may be
Still didn't really hear it all that well.
by, sounding all the same. And oh, it may be painful.
We're going to get this. I'm going to go overboard and see what that does.
By, sounding all the same. And oh, it may
So we've got a compressor pushing down on this. So the only reason that wouldn't have been blasting our eardrums out right there. I mean, that's a lot of decibels turned up, and I still am just like hardly hearing it.
sounding all the same. And oh, it
It's about right. I mean, it is getting louder. It's just not near as loud as it should be considering what we're doing to it. Okay, looks like maybe our high frequency in the multipressor is a little bit too much. Still pushing a little bit harder than I wanted to. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what the actual compressor is doing right there. You can see it presses on that first hit a lot harder than it does the second hit. Let's turn the compression down just a little bit too. So those two I'm hearing pretty good just with the decibel and a half we turned up. Or 2.5 decibels, I guess, right there. It's a little bit disappointing we're still not hearing this one as well. I'm going to turn it up a little more one more time. Yeah, I was good with that, actually. Okay, now he does also have a track that's following those little runs that James and I are doing. Is it just the strings? Yeah, the strings are the only thing he's playing right there, so we could probably actually bring those out a little bit more too. What all is on that track? Just this. High strings 3 is nothing but him doing that. Let's go ahead and push those pretty hard. Yeah, so again, they're not like super loud, or at least in these speakers they aren't, but I do like it. It's very quick strings going da 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 da. I like that. And those those should stay the same. Okay, so for the break then, we were talking about turning these strings down a little bit. Yeah, I would say it's not much. Let me try muting the high strings and let's hear it with just the organ and the low strings. Yeah, let's turn them both down. Oops, I don't have the marquee tool anymore. There we go. So there's the low strings and the high strings. I want to take the low strings down about 1.5 decibels. There we go. And I want to take the high strings down maybe 2 decibels, and let's see if that's too much. That might be too much. Yeah, that might have been a hair too much. Let's try 1 decibel instead of 2. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Let's leave the low strings. Rather than turning the low strings down, let's leave them. And then this high strings, let's do this. Let's let it kind of come back up to where it should be right at the end. Okay, I want to try one more thing on this. What if we let it spend the entire time it's playing, slowly building back up to volume? Yeah, it's really close. There's something else that I want to do with this. Maybe we need to do that same thing kind of with the organ, like kind of let it build. I'm really feeling like this break needs to kind of build up to that climax, and then the chorus kind of feels like it drops. Not drops in volume, but like, you know, almost picture the energy of a bass drop. You know what I mean? We don't need a literal bass drop here, but I want that to be the, you know, the break is kind of like you're going, and then the chorus hits. You know what I mean? That was a big intake of breath. Okay, yeah, I don't think that was the move. The organ was good where it was before I did that. What we're missing, I feel like, is the impact at the beginning of that chorus. It's close. Maybe we need an extra cymbal crash. Is that what it is? Is that like maybe Eli hitting the cymbal at the beginning of the chorus is kind of starting to get buried by everything that's going on. And if we stick like an actual cymbal crash there, we'll get some of that, like, kind of that punch. Okay, yeah, let's give that a try. So again, now we did this earlier. This would have been probably episode 8 or something, the first time we ever worked on this, but I do feel like I should explain this again in case anybody wasn't here. One of the first things that we do whenever we record, once we have finished setting up the drum mics and we're confident that the drum mics are where they're going to be, Eli hits each drum and each cymbal so that we can replace bad hits. So I have a nice clean snare, a nice clean bass drum, nice clean toms, and all of our cymbals specifically for this purpose right here. So I can go into our drum template and highlight these 4 channels called 18-inch crash, which is our 4 overhead mics, the hi-hat mic, the ride cymbal mic, and the 2 space pair overheads. And what is on this track is him hitting this particular cymbal. So we can grab this, we can import this. Now we're not going to add any tracks, so we're going to copy this and then delete those tracks we just imported, and then we're going to go right here to our chorus, highlight the tracks we want it to go on. Bam, we put that cymbal there, and it's just integrated into what we're already doing. And this will be an extra crash right at the beginning of that chorus. You know what? I think that was exactly what we needed. So that we just have a little bit of extra impact with importance right at the beginning of that chorus. So it feels like the payoff of the suspense building of the break. I'm going to bet that chorus 2 would benefit from the same thing. A little bit extra impact on that. Awesome. Okay, so coming back to our strings, we want to go ahead and listen through the chorus. Pretty sure the strings are already good at the volumes they're at throughout this chorus, but we want to listen and make sure. Good other than I do think I want to turn down where he's playing the da 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 da. Yeah, I'd like that to be a little bit more focused on the synth right there than the strings. That little synth thing right there I think ought to be a little louder when we get to it. I do think I also want to turn down the strings in this break just a hair. It's not very much. Let's just give the Synths Master an extra half decibel just right now. I think that might even just fix the problem. Okay, next we have verse 2, which should just need the same moves as verse 1. So this high strings, oh look at that, this is the only thing on this channel. So we've introduced a couple of redundancies here that we don't need. That can be up at 4. And this really has no need to go back down to 4.5. We can just leave it kind of sitting at 2. And theoretically, if this is the same as last time, then we just want this to go up to 4. There we go.
Have unfolded, nothing to confuse. No material bonds to hold me. No conscious thoughts remain. This defies all description. Spirit is sustained.
Yep, good with the strings in the solo. They're there, but they're not jumping out at you. There was something else I thought of. What was it? Something else jumped out at me, and I thought I'll talk about that when this is done playing and it's gone. Oh, I think I want to turn this metal organ down just a little bit more. Hearing it a little bit more than I want to.
Nothing to confuse. No material bonds to hold me. No conscious thoughts remain. This defies all description. Spirit is sustained.
Okay, let's listen to the second chorus, and then theoretically we'll want the same moves here as well. So that little run, we want that to be synth focused. Oops. What did I turn that down to before? Was it 8? Yes, it was 8. And then 3. No, 4. This needs to be at 8. Come on, Logic. There we go. And then pretty much for the rest of the song, we want that to be at 4, just like the break was.
I'm boundless now.
Okay, I did hear another thing just there in that ending. I think the low piano is just a tad high. I think in the break it's fine as is, but since there's a solo going on right there in the ending, I think we want to bring this down a little bit. Yes. Took it down to quite a bit more than I thought I was going to. We were at 6.5? Yes. But I think I do want to bring it back up for those last 2 hits. Yeah, kind of gives those last 2 hits a little bit of a bump, bump. We might even want to turn the guitars and bass up just a hair on that. Just really emphasize. I actually intentionally stopped the solo before those hits. So I wanted those hits to be, you know, the rhythm. So we really get that. here's an opinion for the people that are in here. The solo has delay on it, meaning echo, and I'm good with it, but should it stop at the ending? So you can see how that last C sharp note in the solo continues to echo past the song being done. Should it? Or should it stop? So just start hearing that whop whop and then nah. Or should it stop? That would theoretically be a pretty easy thing to get rid of. So just so we can kind of hear it both ways. I don't know, chat. What do you think? Should we let it continue to echo past the song ending, or should it stop just like that? Let's hear both of them again. This is what it sounds like with it stopping. And then with it echoing like it used to. I could go either way on it. I like it both ways, if I'm being honest. The leaving it echo is pretty typical of something that I think I would normally do. But I like how tight it is when it doesn't. Yeah. Let me know your thoughts there. Throw a comment in the chat there if you like it one way better than the other. I'm kind of leaning towards stopping it. I like it with. I think it would blend to the next track nicely. That's a good point. That's a good point. And we go into the ba-da-da of the next track. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that occurred to me when I recorded the solo. Should it echo or not? And I left it. So that must have been my thought process initially as well. All right, so now we're on leads now, and the synth, I think, let's make sure that turning that synth up half a decibel put that where we wanted it to, and that'll do the synth. As long as that did actually do what I think it did. Maybe it could go up just a hair more. I don't want it to like jump out of the speaker at you, of course, but like I do kind of want that to be the focus of at least what Sam is doing during that riff, and I really like the little whammy up into the note. I think I want to turn the actual whammy part up a little more, but I was okay with the general volume. Let's go ahead and check. There's only 3 things on this track, right? Right, and it's 2 of those 3 are that we just heard. The only other thing is this little run right here. Okay, and that seemed just a hair loud. Okay. So we need a marquee tool here so that we can grab this and turn it down just a little bit. Not much. Better with that, okay. And then this. What I really want to hear is like this section right here, right before 72. I don't really want to turn up this note he's hitting, but I want to hear the wa-da-da-da-da-da, which is... It's almost like a video game sound, but I love it. Like about this much. enough to hear that what thing that happens right there. I'm sure that would sound super weird on its own. If we listen to the synth track solo, that would sound weird. But in the context of everything, pretty good. And then I want to hear that same kind of chunk right here in chorus 2. Yeah, totally. All right, solos. These might be fine already. Only 2 solo spots. The dual solo, which is real quick between verse 2 and chorus 2, and then the guitar solo at the end. I'm pretty good with that as is, I think. I know I was worried in the last episode about whether or not that sounded enough like a synth, but I'm pretty good with it, I think. Because there's 2. There's a guitar and a synth there. And we made the synth sound a lot more like the guitar with the Soothe plug-in, I think. Yeah, we did. But no, I think I'm good with it. Let's listen to that ending solo as well. I want to work with that just a hair, but I do think that it's mostly good. That guitar just has a little bit of a weird frequency response. There we go, I think. Little cut at 400 right there. Mid-range bandpass helped me find it. Made the little cut. Think it sits in there a little bit better now. One more time. Okay, yep. Almost there. Of course, we're going to vocals next, but I do want to work with those. Since we're at the end of the instruments here, I want to make sure that those hits are right. The hits at the very end, how the song ends. And I feel like I'm hearing a little bit too much low piano, so maybe returning these up to where they were was not the right decision. And I'm still considering maybe turning up the rhythm guitars and the bass just a hair, just to really give those some power. Okay, yeah, piano was more appropriate that time, coming up to -9 instead of clear back up to 6.5. Let's try turning up the guitars and bass and just kind of see what that does. Yeah, we're coming in this weird spot. Now, we don't want it to be drastic. It's not like we want this to, like, scare the crap out of everybody listening with something that's suddenly way louder. Just want to give it just a little bit more oomph. So we'll try a couple of decibels on the guitar and bass. Whoops. That was better, I think. It almost feels like the piano's jumping out too much again. Let me try muting that piano just for a second. And maybe it wasn't the piano, because I still heard whatever it is that was kind of hitting me wrong. Oh, the high piano is also doing those notes. Yes, the high piano is also doing those notes. Okay. Yep, sure enough. Okay. Don't think I realized that. Okay. Yeah, it's better, I think, without those high pianos getting quite so much in the way. We're not getting rid of them. Yeah. Let me get just a hair more guitar. Yep. There we go. Yeah. Okay, now we did introduce a couple of redundancies there with volume envelope since we're right at the end of the song. There's no reason for the tracks to return to their previous volume. There we go. Making sure all that's good. Yeah. The drums feel like they're an already appropriate volume right there. They're still jumping out of the mix just kind of naturally because of that dynamic part right there. So all good with that. I think we're good. Let's check out some vocals. So just going through the lead vocal track here. This is doubled, so we've got the main part and another part that is just doing the exact same thing, just giving us the Wendy's effect again. So not trying to make it sound like there's two people singing, just beefing it up. So let's just kind of give a listen through anywhere where there's vocals. Make sure that all the words you can actually hear, all of that sort of stuff. Usually when they're singing, it's the focus of whatever's going on. So we want to make sure that what's going on is being heard.
A line of faces moves fast. Looking down, they know my name. One by one, they pass me by. Sad and all the same.
I could use just a little bit more. I'm going to toe the line with that.
A line of faces moves fast. Looking down, they know my name. One by one, they pass me by. Sad and all the same. And though it may be painful, know that I'm okay. It seems so far from now, but there will be better days.
Some of that second phrase seemed a little loud.
A line of faces moves fast. Looking down, they know my name. One by one, they pass me by. Sad and all the same. And though it may be painful, know that I'm okay. It seems so far from now, but there will be better days.
Yeah, it's really close. And this is probably nitpicky. But the looking down, they know my name seems just the tiniest of little bits too loud. And same thing with, I don't remember the lyrics here, but the second phrase of both of these sections. Yeah, again, so close.
Looking down, they know my name. One by one, they pass me by, sounding all the same. And though it may be painful, know that I'm okay. It seems so far from now, but there will be better days.
Okay, yep, I'm good with that. Let's jump to the chorus. And we are going to hear the background vocals here, but remember we're paying more attention to the lead here.
Free now to run in the endless sky. I lose my worries. The pain is gone. My tired body left behind me. I feel the sun as I move beyond these trivial problems. Free now to run. I'm boundless now.
Okay, experiment time. I was pretty good with that. The background vocals seemed a little quiet, but I don't remember thinking that they did before. And the only thing that we've changed is the lead vocals being half a decibel louder. So if we put the lead vocals back where they were, meaning half a decibel quieter. Why is this not showing me the right thing? There we go. Just curiosity.
Free now to run in the endless sky. I lose my worries. The pain is gone. My tired body left behind me. I feel the sun as I move beyond these trivial problems. Free now to run. I'm boundless now.
Okay. The balance between the lead and the background was definitely a lot better, but it did almost feel like the vocals were getting buried in certain sections by the instruments. So let's get rid of that where I just turned the lead vocals down a little bit. And let's turn the lead vocals or the background vocals up half a decibel as well. I'm pretty good with the balance of the background vocals too, guys. We may not need to go through the background vocals here. This is the only section, the two choruses, and I'm pretty sure they're copy-pasted to the same lyrics. For the background vocals would be copy-pasted. So after we get through this, the lead vocals, we might be good to go. I'm really enjoying the balance of background vocal 1, the one that's me and Majennica both singing the same thing, the higher harmony. I feel like that balance, we really nailed getting the mix between her and I right there, I feel like.
Free now to run in the endless sky. I lose my worries. The pain is gone. My tired body left behind me. I feel the sun as I move beyond these trivial problems. Free now to run. I'm boundless now.
Yeah, I'm liking it. Okay, how about verse 2?
Life's mysteries unravel, understanding absolute truth. The answers have unfolded, nothing to confuse. No material bonds to hold me, no conscious thoughts remain. This deep
good with all that. Again, had a little bit of trouble hearing the D sound on sustained at the end, which looks like I did something to that. Might have thought that even in tracking. Apparently that is something that I need to watch now that I've had to kind of like relearn how to sing and talk a little bit, is that I'm not very good with words that end in ED. So let's try and get that D sound a little bit more up. Yeah, that was better. Definitely heard it that time.
This defines all description. Spirit is sustained.
You guys, did you see the faders twitch, the physical faders? This is this is so funny. We put them over here where you guys can see them. These two right here, so 4 and 5, if you look at the fader screen really close to the camera, you'll actually see them jump up and jump back down right there for the D sound.
This defines all description. Spirit is sustained.
I love that. Okay, let's check this second chorus. Again, it should be the same as the first, but just in case something's weird. Nice. That came out a lot louder than I meant for it to. Yes. All right, like I said, I'm pretty good with the balance of the background vocals. I don't think we need to change anything. You know, I was intending on doing our normal thing. We go through the backgrounds too, but honestly, I'm good with it. I don't think it needs to be messed with. How are we doing on our end chain here? 6.9 and 5.5. Boy, you just about can't ask for better than that. Excellent. Okay. I mean, given that's it, that was only it hearing just a little section. But we know that it's at least going to be 6.9, 5.5. It's not going to go under that. It could be louder, which we wouldn't want it to be louder. Yeah, but we should be good there. Okay, guys, I think we've got our first draft of track 2. Well, there you go. That's, 3 episodes per song 2 instead of 7. So that's pretty good. All right, and we've still got a little bit of time, too, before I ought to get off of here for my student at 3. So let's swap over into number 3. Let's just kind of look at that. Now, again, just so that we're clear about what the process is beyond this, we have not mastered this song. This is the mix. We mixed this song. So we are going to come back and still need to do the mastering for everything. Now, normally I do the mastering for each song after I finish the mix, but fairly recently I've discovered that it's important for me to have a day or two away from a song before I master it. I don't want to jump literally directly from a mix into the master. It's good to kind of come into the master with clean, your palate cleansed, you're not sick of the song, your ears aren't tired, you can just jump right in. So the last thing that we're going to do before we export this is turn the limiter off. So again, this is something we've talked about several times. The limiter is something that goes on the end of the mastering chain. That is also true for this. We mix with it on so that we have a pretty good idea of what mastering is going to do to the song, so that if it destroys any dynamics, we can make sure that we manipulate volumes until the dynamics we want remain there despite being limited up to industry standard loudness. So we don't want the mix to be limited when we export. That's the mastering's job. So we're turning that off. I'm going to save. I'm not going to export right now because exporting is pretty CPU heavy. It shuts my mic off, so I can't talk while it's doing it. Because we're also streaming, it would take a little while to do. We'll export off stream. let's go ahead and jump into track 3. Or at least take a... Yes. Yeah, we're back. Okay, good. I'm glad I set most of these up beforehand, so I don't have to like set a bunch of stuff up before my mic comes back on. Okay, so song number 3 on the album is one of the weirder ones, if you will. Song number 3 is called The Forgotten Wanderer, and this is a Sam track right here. This is a track that Sam wrote ages ago that we had been talking about using as far back as the band before AfterWinter. We were talking about doing something with this one. It's very much in the same vein as Nocturnal Images from A Decadence Divine. In fact, I think Sam wrote those 2 songs at around the same time, so it's kind of got that same vibe to it. This is the Sam feature song on the album. If you had to only pick one, we need to make sure that everything he's doing is what's at the front of this mix, and if we need to, lay the rhythm guitars and the bass guitar back a little bit to feature what he's doing. This song is mostly instrumental, so it's very heavily focused on the piano part and the orchestra part, and pretty much everything else that's in there is meant to just kind of add to the vibe rather than being an important feature, right? So this is going to be one of the more interesting mixes because of that. That's a line that we've got to make sure we maintain and we don't ruin this. This is for sure an orchestral piano-focused piece more than it is a metal song. Now, metal elements, absolutely, but the focus is usually going to be on whatever Sam is doing. There's a little bit of vocals, and this is something that I want to experiment with some effects on as well. It's near to the end of the song. We come across a little section that kind of pulls back again, and there's some vocals that's kind of like comforting, right? So the song is called The Forgotten Wanderer, and without lyrics, it doesn't really tell much of a story other than how you feel when you hear it. So for Sam, when he wrote it, I guess I am speaking for him a little bit here. For sure, for me, when I hear it and when I was picturing what else would be in here and what's the vibe of this song, I can kind of picture a guy who's lost in a forest and is trying to figure out which way to go and isn't super worried about it either. Maybe there are certain parts in the song where that anxiety starts to overcome, and it's like, what do I do? What do I do? I don't know where I'm going or what I'm doing. And so the vocals, when they come in, are comforting. It's meant to be, the voice in the back of your head, or the voice of God, if you will, saying, it's okay, chill out, everything's going to be fine. And so those vocals also need to be pretty laid back. You know what I mean? So this is a Majennica vocal mostly. She did a lead vocal and a harmony, and then I did a lower harmony, I think. But not much going on in the way of vocals in this one. So let's take a listen to this, kind of like we did Boundless. Again, we will really hear and hopefully appreciate the difference between a song that we've put our hands on mix-wise and one that's still got the tracking mix. It should sound pretty different. So nothing other than my mic is sending to the stream at the moment, so let me grab everything we need for the stream. All of this. And these 3. All need to bust out to the stream. There we go. So now you guys should be able to hear everything. So again, this is going to be, what you're about to hear is the tracking mix. It's going to be much quieter because there is no limiter this time. Everything is going to be okay in balance. This is going to be the balance that we were hearing while we were recording the song, basically. So everything's good enough that you can tell what's going on, but certainly not mixed, as it were. If there's anything in here that's not mixed, it'll be these last 2 tracks right here, which are rain sound effects. And this is, in typical AfterWinter fashion, recorded for real. This rain is actual. It was raining outside. I opened the back window here out my room, ran my mic out there, and pressed record. And then we split it into left and right. So we've got some real rain sound effects here. let's take a listen here so that we kind of know what we're starting from with this. This is track 3, The Forgotten Wanderer. Just like that. Yeah. So that one's another just super neat one. Sam, of course, just killing it, as always, with that sort of stuff. So, yeah, all the stuff that we mentioned earlier, this is a very Sam-focused song. You know what I mean? We want to make sure that whatever he's doing is the focal point most of the time. Now, there's some really neat stuff going on in the other things, too. I particularly like the part Eli's doing a double bass thing with some toms, and me and James are going super neat, heavy. That bass run right near the end we just heard that kind of like helps the climax at the very end of the song, where he's just climbing higher and higher and higher and higher. We got to make sure that that is one of the big focal points of that section for sure. But other than that, I think we've kind of got our work cut out for us on this one. This one is going to be really difficult to make sure that we're getting all of the right things jumping out where they should, and that there's nothing that's getting too loud or covering up a lot of the cool stuff that Sam is doing in there too. And then when we get to those vocals, I would definitely like to experiment with some effects on that to make them sound a little bit more maybe far away and kind of mysterious. So definitely we've got some interesting stuff to look at with this one. But we will be getting started on that one in the next episode, episode 11, whenever we get to do that. It's kind of looking at the moment like I will not be able to stream tomorrow. So unless there's some lesson cancellations, which is possible, we may not be streaming tomorrow. Hopefully we'll get some time to do it Thursday, if not tomorrow. But when we do, we will be jumping into this one. I'm going to try and get the routing done off stream, which we did for Boundless as well. Again, routing is boring. If we have to do it on stream, we will. But it's just a lot of clicking and me talking and trying to keep things interesting. So it's importing all the settings from the previous song into this one so that we can start from that point with this. There are a lot of elements in this that aren't in any of the other songs because it's so much more, orchestral and arranged, and Sam's got a lot of stuff. By the way, again, all of that you just heard, as far as the orchestra stuff, Sam played that on the piano with MIDI, but he did actually play that. None of that was, what's the word I'm searching for? Programmed. None of that was programmed. He played that all for real. So, yeah, I think we'll go ahead and get it all wrapped up so that I can get back to work, if you will, if you can call that what it is. But, yes. Again, I want to thank everybody for watching, whether you're watching right now, whether you were watching earlier, whether you're watching this in the future when it's not live. I appreciate every second of your time that you spend hanging out here, checking this out. Really hope you enjoy what you see, enjoy what you hear. Maybe, just maybe, find this a little bit educational. If you like what I'm doing, then please feel free to take any of these tips or tricks and apply them to the stuff that you are doing as well. That's how I got everything of mine, watching people on YouTube and making a lot of albums, most of which sound maybe just okay. That's how you do it. But yes, again, thank you so much for the support. Everybody in the band really appreciates you guys checking this out. And we will be back. We are looking forward to getting into another new song in the next episode and getting this album wrapped up in the next 20 episodes. It's going to be a while, but it's coming along really good, and I think it's sounding fantastic.